Let's talk about Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22. But I'm going to tell you why this was a very successful season with the Los Angeles Rams and why the future is very bright with this organization. I want to start off with the defense. Many people thought this defense was going to take a step back. No Aaron Donald this year. Kobe Turner led all rookies in sacks, but he was not their top defensive player. It was Aaron Donald. And Raheem Morris, who was a very solid defensive coordinator, he went to become the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And I look at this defense. Over time, they have produced one of the best front sevens that we have seen this year. They had 18 sacks in the last 2 games. They sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. And they sacked Jalen Hurts 7 times. I'm more impressed with what they did against the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. And we could talk about the snow, them being in bad weather conditions. That's against one of the best lines in this league. And you had 7 sacks with those young players. Kobe Turner, who was only in year number 2. He's going to only continue to get better. Jared Verse, who is a rookie. He deserves to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation defensively. And you have Braden Fisk, who is also a very good defensive lineman. And you have Byron Young. All of those guys can get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. And I love what the general manager has done with this organization over the last few years. They have drafted through the trenches on the offensive side and with the defensive side and drafted Kyron Williams and also bringing in Blake Corum. And I have a lot to say about Kyron Williams in the next few minutes. When I look at this defense, they're going to be okay in that front 7. I like the linebackers that they have. Their secondary, they need work. And I expect them to draft a cornerback in the first round in this year's draft class, or even to go in free agency and try to bring in a veteran corner because they need help on the back end. Yes, you have Darius Williams, but Darius Williams is not a true number 1 cornerback to have. You brought in Tre'Davious White. That did not work out with the Los Angeles Rams, unfortunately, and you traded him to the Baltimore Ravens. You have Cameron Curl at the safety position. Do you believe that he could be a star with this team long term? He's a very good tackling safety. As a guy in coverage, not so much. You have Ahkello Witherspoon. Ahkello Witherspoon, he's an up and down corner. He's a solid number 2. He's not a true number 1. They need a true number 1 in this secondary. And when I look at the Rams, the reason why this was a very successful season, you won your division. And you were supposed to have a home playoff game, but you didn't because of all the circumstances around California right now. My prayers and thoughts are out with everyone that has been affected by those fires. So you had to go play on the road in Arizona. It was supposed to be a home game, but it wasn't. And you went out there and you dominated the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best offenses this season. They dominated the Vikings so much that a lot of fans right now, they're questioning if Sam Darnold is a good quarterback still. Which is crazy to think about because Sam Darnold had MVP caliber numbers. And he played very well against the Rams in the regular season. But in the postseason, not so much. And the Rams defense did a very good job containing Jalen Hurts. It was just Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon Barkley did dominate this team not once but twice this year. You can bring in some better talent in that front 7 in the linebacking room. But I'm just going to say this. It's Saquon Barkley. He's the best running back in football right now. There's no reason to hang your head and to say, hey, we let Saquon Barkley have over 200 rushing yards on us. Our entire defense needs work. No, you have a bunch of young players at the end of the day. They're stepping up. They're figuring things out. And you had a first-year defensive coordinator with this organization and Chris Shula. They promoted him from the linebackers coach to being the defensive coordinator. So I believe the future is bright on the defensive side of the ball. All they have to do is to go out there and bring in some guys in the secondary. And when I look at the Rams, whenever they run into a problem, the general manager, he goes out there, he fixes it. We saw this a couple of years ago. The first year after they won that Super Bowl against the Bengals, you could say it was a Super Bowl hangover period. Matthew Stafford went down with some injuries. He was contemplating retirement. Regardless of if he was going to come back or not, the general manager came out, we're going to fix his offensive line. That's what he said in his exit meeting that year. And that is what this team has done. From the left tackle position all the way to the right tackle position, they have produced one of the better young offensive lines in this league. And give Sean McVay a lot of credit because he is a top coach in this league. He's been phenomenal. 2 Super Bowl trips, a Super Bowl win, and they would have possibly beat the New England Patriots if Jared Goff did play better. And he was the man that went out there and said, you know what? We have a clear ceiling with Jared Goff. It's time to move on. Let's go get Matthew Stafford. And they won the Super Bowl because of that move. So now look at Sean McVay, one of the best offensive minds in this league. You're going to be fine. I can see Matthew Stafford playing for another year or two. Matthew Stafford has not regressed with that arm talent. He is still the same quarterback that he once was 5 to 6 years ago. And I look at him physically in that Vikings game in the regular season. He's avoiding tacklers. He's moving in space. He's throwing the football over cornerbacks' heads, over the safeties' heads. He can steal ball at a top level in this league. So you still want to get the most out of Matthew Stafford, you push everything into this roster right now. Because I understand if the San Francisco 49ers are fully healthy, they're going to be a tough team to beat. You have the Seattle Seahawks, they're up and coming. The Arizona Cardinals, they're an up-and-coming team. I understand all of that, but when I look at the Rams with the pieces you have in the trenches, with the defense and with the offense, you're going to be okay. And Matthew Stafford has that veteran presence. He was an amazing quarterback with the Detroit Lions. They could not come down and bring the best roster around him. That's what it came down to. And he's one of the toughest quarterbacks that you can have. Matthew Stafford will go out there and he will play with a major injury. He is a dog on the field. So I expect from Matthew Stafford to come back, and I expect high-level play around him for the next few years until he decides to walk off the field. And when he does, he will be a Hall of Famer. When I look at the pieces around Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua is a clear-cut number one wide receiver. And back-to-back years right now, he's been phenomenal. He's a great wide receiver. Once again, shout out to Sean McVay. Shout out to the general manager for going out there and scouting him. This was not a first-round pick. Puka Nacua went later in the NFL draft, and in year number 1, they did force feed him the football, but he stepped up because Cooper Kupp missed time. Cooper Kupp was dealing with an ankle injury, and Cooper Kupp has not been the same wide receiver that he once was since he had that Triple Crown season. When they went on that Super Bowl run, and he was phenomenal that entire season and in the postseason, he hasn't been the same guy because of those injuries. Now, I have a lot more things to say about Cooper Kupp in the next few seconds, but when I look at Puka Nacua, he's the best wide receiver with this team. He's only in his second year. Entering his third year, he's going to get better. This kid is phenomenal. He's a top wide receiver in this league, and there's so many top wide receivers to have right now. He's one of the better ones because he can beat you over the top. He could kill you across the middle of the field. He's just that big, physical wide receiver. He reminds me a lot of Hines Ward, a guy that does everything for you, is a great run blocker. Getting the dirty work done. Will go inside the slot, can go outside the slot. This is the definition of a do-it-all wide receiver, and he doesn't complain when he doesn't get the football because he wants to see the team win, and he puts the team first. He's the picture-perfect wide receiver to have, especially in this system playing alongside Cooper Kupp. And give Cooper Kupp a lot of credit for going out there and taking time with him and training camp and teaching him different ways to beat cornerbacks off the line of scrimmage and giving him leverage tips. I will say that about Puka Nacua. He has a lot of positive things to say about Cooper Kupp, and he definitely wants to see him with this roster long term. Now, this brings in the Cooper Kupp conversation. Cooper Kupp went from being the top wide receiver in this league. That 1 year, he was a triple crown winner. He was amazing against the Cincinnati Bengals in that Super Bowl run. One of the best years we will ever see for a wide receiver in league history. With that being said, he's not the same guy. When we saw Puka Nacua miss time, we saw this offense take a step back. And I'm not finna come on here and say that Cooper Kupp is a trash wide receiver. He's not. He is still a very good wide receiver to have. But Cooper Kupp has now transitioned into being a very good number 2. Is a top number 2 wide receiver. At times, he can be a true number 1. And you can say that Matthew Stafford forces Puka Nacua the football. Cooper Kupp used to be in that situation. Cooper Kupp still does a lot of good things. Is still one of the best route runners to have. Is still amazing with yards after the catch, with run after the catch. But on a consistent basis, on a week-to-week basis, the big numbers are not there. A lot of that is because of Puka Nacua. Yes, but Puka Nacua missed time this season, dealing with a knee injury. Cooper Kupp, the numbers weren't there. He wasn't able to go out there and get you over 100 yards every single game like how he was able to in the past. And I can tell you why the Rams almost took a complete 180 on Cooper Kupp. He was in trade discussions at the middle point of the season. And then Sean McVay came out and said, you know what, we're going to keep him. I don't know where you guys are hearing that from. That is just not a rumor that came out of nowhere. That has some truth to it. I do believe that if a team came out and they offered a second-round pick with Cooper Kupp, he'll be on a different team right now. Personally, you could keep Cooper Kupp around. He's still a very good veteran. He won a Super Bowl MVP. He can still give you a lot of good production, but he's not the same guy that he once was because of those injuries. And maybe next season he could come back and have a major bounce back year, but he's not a bad wide receiver. And I understand the Rams want to go out there. They want to save money. But when you have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp on the field at the same time, you see guys like Demarcus Robinson benefit because of that. And Demarcus Robinson has been a very good player with the Rams, especially this season. And Tutu Atwell, personally, I like him a lot, but he's just a one-trick pony in certain situations. He's going to go down there and give you 1 to 2 big plays in a game. And it brings a lot of energy into the Rams offense. So hopefully they keep the entire trio around, and DeMarcus Robinson, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. When you have a guy like Tutu Atwell, you could possibly move on for him. But I look at Tutu Atwell, just keep him also. He's a very good wide receiver. And I look at that tight end position. I look at Tyler Higbee, who has missed time this year, and he got injured in that Vikings game. He was coughing up blood. He was not able to return. He is a very good benefactor of going out there and getting those catches, getting single coverage, because there's so much motion that's going on with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. This is when I bring into a new argument. Even though Cooper Kupp is not going out there, he's not putting up the big time numbers, he still has a presence on this field. You can't go out there and double cover Puka Nacua, because Cooper Kupp can still win one-on-one opportunities. And you're not going to go out there and double cover Cooper Kupp. So you're leaving guys in single coverage. You're playing more so of zone coverage defense like the Vikings did. And when you send a blitz, Tyler Higbee has the wherewithal to realize, hey, that's a soft spot of the blitz. That's a soft spot of the zone. I'm just going to sit here. He has that connection with Matthew Stafford. And I look at Kyren Williams at the running back position. The fumbles are starting to hurt this kid. He fumbles the football a lot, but he's a very good football player. Their offense also takes a step back when he's not on the field. And we saw this last season when he was dealing with an ankle injury. They averaged 7 less points without him on the field. He's a very good football player. But you add in Blake Corum. They didn't do that by accident. Eventually, they may move on from Kyren Williams. Right now, Blake Corum is not ready for that spot. But I look at Kyren Williams. He's a top running back in this league. All he has to do is protect the football. That's it. He does everything else so well, running between the tackles, catches the football at the backfield. He was a key piece to why this team defeated the Minnesota Vikings, because he could catch the ball in the red zone and because he was able to go out there and pick up 4 to 5 yards at the time to take the pressure off of Matthew Stafford. And Brian Flores at that point was fending the dogs off. He was like, at this point, let's just play back. Let's watch out for this run. And then you have those motion plays in the backfield with Cooper Kupp, with Puka Nacua, and they can kill you over the top with Tutu Atwell. And in today's game against the Eagles, it came down to Saquon Barkley being Superman, and also came down to this. Matthew Stafford is veteran quarterback. He can't fumble the football and lose it. And Kyren Williams, you can't fumble the football. Those 2 plays right there hurt them in this matchup. I'm not saying if they don't fumble the football that they wouldn't have went out there and they would have won this game. They would have blew the Eagles out. But it would have gave them a chance to at least go out there and put another 3 or 7 points on the board. And they couldn't walk away with it, because they had those fumbles. This was a well-coached game by Sean McVay. This is a well-coached team. Sure, they may go out there and they may start the season off 3-5, but I guarantee you they will finish strong. If they can just stay fully healthy going into next season, this is going to be one of the most dangerous teams to go against in the NFC. And I look at the 49ers right now. You guys know how I feel about Brock Purdy and crew. They're going to be tough to beat. But the Rams, they can match up with them, especially with this brand new front seven with those young players. The same with the Seattle Seahawks. What's their Achilles heel? Offensive line protection. And I look at Kyler Murray and crew. Their offensive line is still a major issue. So when I look at the offensive line with the Rams, you can make the case they have the best offensive line in this division. And when I look at this defensive line, just because these guys are young doesn't mean that they can't be in the conversation being the best defensive line in this division. But let me know in the comment section below how you guys feel about the Los Angeles Rams, and is the future still bright with this team? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.